something's not adding up in Canadian politics.
The minister said repeatedly that he had no knowledge of funds from the dictatorship in Beijing going to federal election candidates. Today we learned that is not true. His department prepared a briefing that said a large clandestine transfer of funds earmarked for the federal election from the PRC in Toronto was transferred to an elected provincial government official via a staff member of a 2019 federal candidate. Why did the Prime Minister say the opposite of what he knew to be true?
Today, we're digging into the allegations surrounding electoral fraud with Justin Trudeau.
The Prime Minister, however, has been reluctant to answer questions about this new information. Our chief political correspondent, David Aiken, has been following the proceedings all week. David.
Well, Carolyn, we've heard evidence all week about activity during the 2021 election that CSIS believes may have been coordinated by China to defeat Conservatives and help the Liberals.
Could these accusations mean that he's gearing up to run forever? Now, allegedly, people are claiming that Trudeau and his party are manipulating the electoral process.
A declassified summary of CSIS intelligence was entered into evidence late Thursday, in which CSIS reported that in 2021, some individual People's Republic of China officials in Canada made comments expressing a preference for a Liberal Party minority government.
From questionable campaign financing to alleged foreign influences, these are some serious allegations that could totally undermine the democratic process here in Canada.
It's Justin Trudeau that is hurting Canadians' faith in our democracy by covering up the interference by the communist Chinese government in our elections. He's known about it since at least 2017, 6 years ago, when he began getting detailed briefings of this interference. He covered it up. He did absolutely nothing to protect our Chinese community against intimidation and our elections against foreign manipulation.
But with all that being said, let's unpack all the details here and see if these allegations are true, and if they are, how Justin Trudeau could, in essence, be a dictator and rule Canada forever. Now, while the full extent of this interference is still under investigation, which, as we know, we're never going to find out the real truth, let's suspect how this could go down. Because it's not going to go down the way it might look or you might think, where he's just never going to leave office and it's a total like North Korea, Cuba kind of situation. It's not going to look like that.
All my friends have got nuclear weapons. Even Ahmadinejad. Where is the head of my nuclear program and procurer of women?
You had Nadal executed, Supreme Leader. Why did I do that?
Even if he does rule forever, and he's kind of a dictator, it's going to look like it's a democratic process. There's going to be elections. There's going to be cabinet ministers and arguments in Parliament. It's going to look like it does every single day. See, in 2024, we're too technologically advanced for a total dictatorship to go down. How it's most likely going to happen is there going to be foreign influences, people with deep pockets who are going to be funding campaigns, funding cabinet ministers, and then with all of that money, they're going to be able to promote themselves better. It's all going to be a ruse.
The Trudeau Foundation, which got $140,000 from the dictatorship in Beijing for the specific purpose of influencing his decisions in politics. But now we know that his brother, his own brother, was the one that negotiated and signed the deal to receive the money. Will the Prime Minister accept to call his brother to a parliamentary committee to answer questions about this?
See, if the Liberal Party, for example, had unlimited funding, they're going to be able to market themselves better, making it more likely that they're actually going to get voted through in a democratic process election. It's going to look like it always does. So could Trudeau be the mastermind manipulating all of this? You know, and he's at the top of this scheme saying, I don't want to leave office. I want to rule Canada forever. Maybe, but most likely not. He's just a puppet, just like every leader of the world is. Same with America, same with Canada, same with Germany and France. They think they're winning. I'm crushing, dude. Everybody's voting for me. That's because it's being rigged in your favor. Like I said, could it be legit, vote tampering and mail-in ballots? That could have happened in the U.S. I'm open for any good idea or conspiracy. They're fun to listen to, maybe, but most likely not, because that's too easy to get caught, especially in America, where the rule of law It's not perfect, but it means way more than it does in Canada. They have an open process, an open country, the Freedom of Information Act. Any citizen can get pretty much anything on anybody, right? As I always say, as a real estate investor now investing in the US, everything's open. All the powers that realtors have here on seeing who owns what property and all that private information in America, that's all public. You, me, anybody. I can find out exactly who lives where, what they own, how much they owe on the property. I can read all of their mortgage documents. If I want to get information on a traffic stop, on a body cam footage from a cop in New York or Los Angeles or Florida, anywhere, I can pull that information through the Freedom of Information Act. Anybody can pull pretty much anything. Their court system, wide open. You can look at everything. In Canada, we follow the British rule, the British monarchy, where we value privacy, which is good. But like, if you want to do research in Canada on the court system, on the justice system, on police, you're not going to find anything, barely anything. In America, it's wide open. They have problems and they just embrace it. They're like, yeah, our country's fucked up. Our justice system, not perfect. But here, it's wide open. You guys can look at whatever you want, do academic studies and tell us how to change it. Go for it. In Canada, private. And that's how the election ballot system and everything's going to be. But it's becoming more and more open. It's becoming easier. You got hackers that are 13 years old that are better than they've ever been, right? Like, people can figure shit out. So they're not going to bother manipulating elections by like changing votes and like scratching out liberal or scratching out conservative and like crossing liberal. That's too risky. That's too like 1930s. That's too prehistoric. It's too easy to get caught. It's going to be this way. Where it's just going to be influence and rich people are going to pay for shit. And people are going to be like, yeah, look at what the liberals are doing. But they're getting so much money. So then people just keep voting for them. So it is a fair democratic election, but it's not. And I mean, think about it this way. If you're a rich billionaire, multimillionaire from the Middle East, from Monaco, from China, right? Who would you realistically rather have in power? A conservative government like Pierre, who's very fiscal minded, cutting budgets, cutting where it needs to be, stimulating the economy. Canada first, Canadians first, jobs here, no more funding to Ukraine, or it's significantly decreasing. We don't want to do wars. We're going to pull back on war. If you're a rich person, what would you rather have? That guy or Trudeau, who's fighting climate, which is an endless fucking fight, just endless money? Just think about it that way. Who would a rich person rather have? And here's the thing. Rich people aren't like evil. Not all of them. It's this misconception that like rich people are like masterminding, conniving, evil geniuses who like, how can I fuck the world? No, they're just thinking for themselves. How can I better myself and my family? Which is exactly what you're doing and I'm doing and everybody's doing. You're just doing it on a super small level. You know, you're working at your job to like make your family better. These guys are doing the same thing, but their family and their job is fucking ginormous. Now, are there evil people truly scheming about the world? Of course. But to just think that like every billionaire is like thinking, how can I fuck Canada? Like, why do you care about Canada? They're just thinking like, how can I grow my electric car business? This guy is like, all my policies, his policies are going to help my business. I'm going to give him a shit ton of money. So make sure he gets elected again and again and again. Carbon tax, that's great, dude. If I'm an oil company, that's fantastic. So oil companies, I'm going to give this guy a ton of fucking money. Genius. That's all it is. I'm sorry to break it. It's probably not some crazy conspiracy where like these 5 elites meet on top of some mountain in a black robe with a fucking torch in their hand like it's 1832. And they all meet at this place once a year and they scheme. How can I take over America? How can I make Canadian middle-class people even broker? But more likely, it's just some guy who runs a very big business, and he's like, who's going to make my business even bigger? This guy, I'm going to keep funding that dude. Who's going to fuck my business? Pierre Poilievre, that guy? Oh, I'm going to fucking make sure he doesn't get elected. I'm going to pay this guy. We're going to put some bad ads out. Make sure the awareness gets out that Pierre Poilievre is actually going to hurt Canadians. We're going to spin it super well because we have the best marketers in the world working for us. It's probably going to look more like that. And that's what's happening. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. I would love to hear what your thoughts are on the shadow elite. Maybe. That's always fun to listen to. Maybe it is true. But let me know your comments. What do you think is happening? And do you think Trudeau is actually going to lose the election coming up? And is he ever going to leave? Let me know.